Hello, I am Professor Brian Bogus, and I am the designer and professor of the Economics 290 slash Government 290 Political Economy class. Um, it is, I think, a unique class. If you look at a lot of other undergraduate economics programs, they probably will not contain a class like this, where we take and analyze primarily political activity through an economic lens. The fundamental theories that we'll be using for this class are something that comes out of a branch of economics called public choice. And we will be taking those insights, those theories, building and developing them, talking a good bit about politics, but also applying them to some other areas where markets are not the primary way in which things are organized, what we might think of as non-market exchange. Politics is one, non-profit organizations such as churches and charities are another. We will dabble some in churches and how they are structured and organized as well. A little bit about me for those of you who have not had a chance to have me in class or have not met me and discuss things with me. I am professor here on campus at Regent. Before that, I have spent a good bit of my life, sorry to say, in politics and public policy. I worked in a number of campaigns, including 2 or 3 Senate races, a couple governor's races, a number of local things. I was actually a candidate for office once. I also spent 5 years as a senior budget analyst working for the Maryland State Legislature. So I've seen some of this stuff that we're going to be talking about up close and personal. Um, Gives me a little different insight into what we're talking about than maybe some others might who have spent most of their time studying it, but maybe not actually actively participating in it. I also have taken and specialized in my PhD program in public choice economics. This is one of my areas of specialization. You will be reading about a guy named Gordon Tullock, especially in the first week, um, as well as reading some things by Gordon Tullock throughout the course. I actually had Gordon Tullock as a professor. I took a class from him. So I'm well steeped in this stuff, and it's one of the classes that I've been looking forward to designing and putting together since my arrival here in 2012, and am glad that we are able to get it up and running, and I'm glad that you have decided to take it. The textbooks that we will be using, this one, this is a Christian application one. It is by a guy named Paul Cleveland. Paul is a friend of mine, called Unmasking the Sacred Lies. From this book, we will be getting some case studies, and we'll be looking at ways to apply the things that we are going to be developing, the theories that we're going to be looking at, to real world events. The main text that we'll be using is this one. This is called Readings in Public Choice Economics, and it's edited by a guy named Jack Heckelman. And there's a number of different articles in here. This is more like a collection. It's not a textbook per se. It's more like a collection of some of the more important articles that are important for understanding public choice economics, as well as accessible to the introductory student, which you are more advanced students, but this is the first time you've encountered this particular subject matter, I assume. You'll also be reading some stuff by a guy named Richard Wagner. Dr. Wagner was my dissertation director for my PhD program. The first article you'll be reading in the textbook is by him, co-authored with a fellow named Jim Gwartney. Jim Gwartney is a personal friend. So we are well steeped, well prepared, and to discuss this stuff, and I'm looking forward to having a good conversation over the next 8 weeks. Having said that, let's talk a little bit about what the course is all about and a little bit about what public choice is. First of all, the course is called Political Economy because we're going to be expanding the application a little bit. But the core of it is public choice. Public choice economics is basically, one way you can think about it, is this basically looking at political institutions through the unvarnished lens of reality. There is a couple of ways, well, there may be many ways that people can look at political actors. In contrast to what we might think of as the rosy scenario, the optimistic, I may be too cynical by calling it the fairy tale approach of thinking of the public servant model, where someone gets elected to office because they are driven by their desire to do good for all of humanity, and once in office, they somehow know what everyone wants, what everyone needs, and can walk the fine line between various interested parties who some may not even like the particular elected representative, and hopefully please most of the people most of the time and, quote unquote, do greater good for the greatest number. On the other hand, public choice economics says when we elect somebody, they are still self-interested, as Adam Smith talked to us about, and even though it is not necessarily steeped in Christian theology, they are still sinful, flawed characters who are subject to all the whims and desires and self-centeredness, as distinct from self-interested, types of influences that they were before they were elected. And once you have handed them the keys to the office, as it were, they have not automatically changed. They have not become greater in their knowledge. They've not become greater in their understanding of what the national or district will is. They are still very interested in primarily themselves and then others secondarily. And of course, a politician's primary interest is getting reelected. And so the institution of government needs to align that interest as best as it can with the interest of the people. Of course, that's very difficult to do the larger the number of people involved. Those of you who come from families understand that you don't always please everybody. So imagine trying to please a district of 400,000 people or a nation of 300 million. So, having said all that, that's kind of what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at the fact that for instance, we're going to be examining a situation where everyone says that deficits are bad, just to take an example. Everyone, Republicans, Democrats, liberals, conservatives, everyone argues that we should not have this ongoing, never-ending budget deficit. Budget deficits accumulate into the budget debt. But no matter who's in office, Republican, Democrat, whatever, we end up continuing to have deficits and continuing to pile into the national debt. Why is that? Well, public choice offers a couple of insights into why we might be experiencing that kind of behavior, even though everybody involved says we shouldn't be. And on it goes. So we're going to be looking at that kind of stuff over the next 8 weeks. I hope you enjoy the course. I hope it gives you some insights and some different ways of thinking about it. I am not here to convince you that this is the only way or even the best way to think about politics, but it is still going to be a new way of looking at the way we get things done as a collective body, as the politic, as it might be. So, good luck, God bless you, and hope to see you in the discussion board over the next few weeks.